for your models, kit review time. Today we're looking at Bandai's 1/12 scale Captain Phasma. Okay, so we've done lots with Bandai. We absolutely love them, and it's nice to see that we've obviously got the new films coming through. So we've got The Force Awakens Captain Phasma. Let's face it, she didn't do much in the actual film. Let's hope she does more in the next one. But the armour, the way it works, the way it's like an upgrade to the standard sort of, you know, the troopers, the stormtroopers, is absolutely fantastic. Beautiful box art, as we know. Okay, so what do we know about Captain Phasma? Not much, but she's a bit of a pushover, and she's probably going to be in the next film. But anyway, we can see down here, beautiful armour. Okay, so we've got this nice, I wouldn't call it chrome, it's not quite as glistening as chrome, but it's definitely like a high polished aluminium or something else like that, which is beautifully done right the way through here. Usual thing, we got the usual pictures running down on here. So your kit number for this one is 02032228. Okay, and a little bit more on the back there, and just round to the other side. So in the box, stick that down there, we can see we have a beautiful box of pre-painted chromy paint. So we're just going to grab the instructions first. Okay, so usual thing, it's going to be one of these giant drag-along jobs. Okay, so we're trying to keep this somewhat concise. Now, we spoke about it, if you just watch the reviews we're doing, we speak about it every time. Thing to remember is just take your time. You don't need to test fit things, just be aware that there's a lot of left and right, i.e. parts aren't just universal. So just make sure if you're using the left arm and the right arm, you just keep the actual, the numbers in mind as you're removing them from the sprue. That way you will have no problems. Every time I've built these ones, and let's face it, I have a cabinet full of them over there that we've built. If there's ever been a problem, it's been my own making. I've never had a problem with any of these kits, okay, right the way through. It's just that sometimes if you don't do it in the correct order, you can't put the part in later on, okay, and various things like that. So anyway, starting down in here, usual thing, we've got the head, so we've got the actual helmet system going on. It's a three-piece going right the way through. We have the front visor going in, absolutely no problem. So if you've done the actual Force Awakens Stormtroopers, it's exactly the same. Usual thing as well as the way this goes together. Obviously these figures, fully articulated, you can manipulate them, you can put some fantastic poses, and it's all down to this very clever polycap system that is working with ball and joint sockets. So we've actually got the ones into the chest, making sure the chest plates all go in, and the way that this works is the armor overlaps everything, so you shouldn't have any problems with what I would feel would be the normal thing with this, of where you remove parts and you get a little bit showing. You should have no problem, they will overcoat each other. The neck joint going in there as well. Again, this is one of those areas, just take a little bit of care, make sure it's around the right way. It does make a difference, okay? So make sure that's put in correctly. You have no problem with the head fitting on. The midriff, okay, the sort of the actual belly area going right the way through. It is the standard armor, so obviously she just gets the shiny version. This is where the difference comes in though, is the cloak. We'll look at that in a moment, how that is actually going to fit on there. The waist, okay, as you can see just down on here, usual thing as well, goes in exactly the same way. And then obviously we're going to put in the actual side parts, which is what everything's going to clip to. Those go on, and then we're just going to carry on. You can see it running across the top how this goes together, but then it is the usual thing. We're going to be going in there with the legs, making sure again you get your left and right, your ankles, your left and right around the right way, because trust me, if you don't, it comes back and bite you because they don't stand correctly, and then you end up trying to work out which is the left and right bit. If you get it right the first time, you'll have no problem with it. Then we've actually got the thigh on the other side and going through exactly the same. Popping those legs in, and then over here we've got the side plates going in, the little side flaps on there, both sides, and the pouches going in, and then we're going to be working on the arms, and those go basically the same way as we've done all the others. And then over to the other side, we've actually got the system on the shoulders, we've got the forearms and the arms and all the bits and pieces, and then you're going to be dropping the two arms in together. Then it's the cloak. Now this is something we're going to look at in a moment, because we get a hard cloak, okay, which is like a two-piece, when we've got a stick or a decal system going to go on this one, or you've actually got a fabric one. And to be honest, the fabric one doesn't look exactly brilliant when I've looked at other people's, but we'll have a closer look this time. But basically you're going to be folding it in on itself, so it sort of lapels right the way through, goes in through the head, the head goes on, so you can see it here, so it all ruffles and folds on itself. You do get the option of a stand, but I think it is sold separately. It doesn't actually come in the kit, but if you did want to pop him in on that, you actually could, or she. You've got the blaster as well, obviously the standard blaster going right the way through, or it can be fitted to the pegs on the leg. The grips for the hand, obviously you get multiple hands for doing multiple things, and then usual way with all the troopers, you actually get the base plate, where you can have it as a standalone plate in there, or as in the square ones where you can have them all together, and you get the clip for joining them. Then, as I say, Chinese instructions. As you can see, we've got Phasma down here. This is what we're talking about, the different hands. You can have them doing different things, just open, pointing, holding the gun or fist, right the way through. And don't forget, you don't have to do them all. I've got boxes of extra hands over. I've got a tub, because I build all the extra hands and then you can undo them and put them on as is required right the way through. So we've got the gun, obviously the decals, very few in nature. We've just got the two running down, a couple of little black spots going down on here. You could run down the sticker route as well, or you could have the gun fitted on the side, whichever way you wanted to do it. So, the kit itself. Normally, I am never a fan of this. I do not like pre-chromed or plastic-plated parts. They just don't work. But that's when you have to cut them off the sprue and have a big mark left over that's going to show later on, because somehow you have to hide that. Also, if there's any type of seam line, burring, usual things like that, you have to go around and remove them. Bandai very cleverly get around this problem of having a system where all the marks from the sprue areas are not seen, because there's a slight overlap to it, or you have another plate go on. Now the legs and things like that, it'd be interesting to see how they do it, but that is what they always do with all of their kits. So generally, just looking down here, as you can see, we just drop that side camera down just a little bit. You can see how beautiful this is though. Also, it has that effect. It's not like perhaps some aircraft kits and they give you that metal finish. This looks heavy duty, solid, and as you can see, it is right the way through. Also, the gates. We have to talk about the gates where it joins onto the actual kit part itself are extremely small, so the chances are you're not even going to see it when it's removed from the parts. The plastic quality they use again is extremely high, so when you remove it, you snip it, side cutters, knife, you'll have minimal damage as you make your way through. But generally, if I just switch over to the close cam, we can see down in here how good this is. So you can see the blaster, very nicely done right the way through. We've got the helmet, you can see glistening away, it's catching every studio light we've got in here, you can see, and all of the parts, generally the highest quality you're going to find in any type of plating anywhere. The other thing as well, you know, you just look at the edge of the sprue, I don't know if you'll see it, but if you notice there's no burring, there's no burr line at all running right the way around the sprue, and to be honest, that's the trouble you get. If you had a burring line, then that transfers onto the part, you have to clean that off, it makes a mess, you might as well start fresh. But generally, I have to say, I could never get that type of finish with just my way of doing things. It's chrome plating, it's electromagnetic plating onto these guys, and it works fantastically well. It is fantastic, very clever how it's all done. Okay, and I love the effect it gives. So that's all your chromey bits. Let's have a look at the other chromey bit. So again, down here you can see on all the studio lights showing through, reflecting everything, including me. Hey, there I am. As you can see, beautifully done, very nicely done. And again, I wouldn't worry. You see where all these joins are? They're not a problem, because what's going to happen is you're going to remove them and never see them. Even up here, very cleverly how they've actually put the actual tab mark in the inside of the shoulder. So when the arm goes on, you're going to lose that tab line. These guys on the side, again, you're not going to see them. They're going to be down out the way. Okay, and then this guy, which possibly you could see, is put on in such a way the sprue gate is absolutely minute and you're not going to have a problem with it. So don't be panicked about doing a kit like this and thinking you're going to have all the problems. The hands, I don't know, did she have silver hands or was it black hands? I thought she had black hands actually, but we'll look at those in a moment. But normally it's black with gloves. They might have just doubled up on the parts. We'll have a look at that in a moment. But again, beautifully done, all the plating, all the parts on this, as you can see, amazingly done. to be honest, it's boring reviewing these because they are just of such a high quality. You just feel that there's not a problem. Okay, so the black, which are the inner bits, and we get our first little look at the decal sheet. So as you can see, that's it. Nothing really to it. Okay, so you're not worried about that one. Okay, so down in here, these are the hard plastic ones. So again, we've got those inner joints, the various bits and parts that you can imagine on this one, right the way through, and then obviously the waist areas, the collars, the shoulders, all the different areas from the inside which are going to be in black. And then down on here, you might notice we have the smoked, but it's where you might see it easier, smoked visor. Now that is clear. Even though it's on a black sprue, it's a clear C down on the end here is actually a smoked part, and it's hard plastic where this is more softer. Okay, but again, fantastically done, no problem with any of that. Feet, more shoulders, inner part of the mask as well. As you can see, that's the black parts that show through, and then the visor goes in at the top. Soles of the feet, usual thing, everything you would expect to be in black, we have in black just there. Okay, then these two. So this is the Cloak System, which I'm not a mass fan of. Let's do the hard cloak first. So the hard cloak, I think, is the way to go. The only thing is with it, you have got injection moulding marks that we saw exactly the same on Darth Vader's. So from my point of view, I'd respray this. Just a quick spray over and it'll lose the webbing mark. This is just where the injection moulding's coming in, and then obviously it cools as it joins and you get a little join line in it. It's not a mould mark or a seam or anything else like that. It's totally flat, but I would just literally redo it. We have got some ejection pins in the inside, as you can see just down in here, but they're nothing that actually you'd worry about. And this is the sash that goes across the neck area and down here, which goes underneath the cape, is very nicely done as well. No problem with that. That would be my way of going. Because this, I just don't like. As I say, I saw this kit a few months ago when it first got released. One of the guys got it, and I had a look, and I didn't go with this at all. This is the material. As you can see, it's slightly translucent. You can see through it. It looks what it is. If I hold it up to the light, it's just very thin felt. And yeah, okay, I can imagine it probably works, and you'd ruffle this all up like this, and it hangs over the shoulder. It's just, to me, you know, you'd have it somewhere like this. It's never going to hang right. It's not going to have that natural look, and it's not going to have the waving that we get in here. So if you look at the waves that we've got down in here, and then this, I don't know, unless you're going to iron it, I suppose you could, it's never going to give you the same type of effect. It's not going to look realistic. This is your other trouble as well. This is your stickers, which are going to go on to give you the red beading down the sash. Personally, I'd spray them on. So what I would probably do, spray it red, mask it, which you could even use these as the mask, put this down to give you the perfect mask, and then I'll spray the rest black, and then peel these off with showing the red underneath. Quick tip for you, okay? And then we've got exactly the same down on here, because we have the sticker set, which is obviously got the nice chromed ones down on here, which is obviously you can't get that on a traditional decal, okay? With the black, no problem at all. Then we have the last sprue, which is our base and all the polycaps for the joining of the shoulders. It's on like a rubber system. So this is your base plate, standard, they all have those. Okay, and this is it. So this is like a rubber, you know, so like a polyurethane, but this is where all the ball and socket joints and the neck joints and everything else like that. This is just a standard sprue. I think comes with every stormtrooper or figure because it has all the different ones in there. Again, just take your time making sure you got the correct shoulder joints and various parts put in, because sometimes, and I'm guilty of it, you put the wrong one in, you can't understand why it's fit or it's a loose fit. Turns out you put the wrong one of these in because they do look very similar. So just watch your call outs to make sure they're all good. So there we go, that is the Captain Phasma 1/12 scale from Bandai. I don't like the cloak, but I love the kit.